Hello, YouTube and Facebook. Just waiting for people to turn up. No one's here yet, but I did something really stupid. I thought today was Monday. It's Tuesday, and I already did an hour and a half of lives. So now I've got to do my regularly scheduled ones. It's not that I don't mind doing 3 hours of lives, but it's my voice. So we'll see if I can keep up. Yeah. Anyway, I messed up. I forgot it was Tuesday, so I have to do another set of lives. So we'll see how my voice holds up. Anyway, so just waiting for people to turn up. See, I'm trying to be careful with my voice here because it might fail me tonight. Okay, so I'll just start now. I've only got like 5 or 6 people here so far, so I'll just start anyway. My name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go on the link above on Facebook here or on YouTube, you can see my link, and it has free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course from 3 to 12 years old, or you can hire me for coaching. Coaching's all done on Zoom, so it doesn't matter where you are. Yeah, I messed up. I thought today was Monday. In my head, it was Monday. And I already did all my lives. And then I remembered I've got them scheduled. I can't not do my scheduled lives. So yeah, so I'm here for another hour and a half. So 3 hours of me talking on lives. The reason why lives are so difficult on my voice is because it's one way, like I'm talking to myself, not to myself, but it's just me talking. Whereas when I'm coaching, I can coach all day long because it's more back and forth, right? But yeah, this lives are, we'll see how long my voice lasts. Maybe I'll just start talking a little bit slower. So yeah, I'm back again because I messed up. I did too many lives today. So anyway, parenting questions. I'll just sit here and wait for that because I'm doing my scheduled lives, my regular one, 4:30 here. Then I will go over, in a half hour, I'll go over to Instagram, and then a half hour after that, I'll go over to TikTok. And all my lives are filmed on YouTube at the same time, and that's where all my lives are saved. So, and if you go on the link above, you can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, or you can hire me for coaching. So if you got any parenting questions, ask away. Doesn't matter what age. I teach all ages. Actually, teenagers are my favorite age. That's where I started my business. So it's just most people who turn up to these lives, it's mostly parents of toddlers. So, because a lot of people have been asking me, oh, do you work with teenagers? Yeah, that's my specialty. Okay. My favorite age, too, is teenagers. Hitting. 3-year-old hits her sister with hard toys. Remove the toy and toddler from fun. For how long? Okay, so I always say that, well, if they hit with a toy, they got a weapon, so you just take the weapon away. So you just say, no. Now, she's 3, though. She's 3. Put on the behavior board. You put down no hitting. If she hits, there's a consequence. But right away, as soon as she hits with a toy, I'd go over and I say no, and I take that toy. I'd give it to the other kid. Who's she hitting? I'd give it to the other kid, and or put it away if they're going to fight over it. So, and then there's also a consequence. So you double up. You don't just say no and then take it away. You do that with toddlers, but not with a 3-year-old. Put on the behavior board, no hitting. If she does, that other, whoever she hit, she has to do something nice for that person. If she won't do that, then she'll get like 24-hour media blackout, no screens, or something like that. Check out the behavior board. It's completely free. It's in the link, and it'll teach you how to do this, how you set up a rule and a consequence. There are, where are they? There are 4 annoying traits that children are either going to be born with and do, or they're never going to do. One is tantrums. One is climbing. One is running. You know, they take off out in public and don't look behind for you. And the last one is aggressiveness. They're either going to hit or they're not. They're either going to be runners or they're not. They're either going to climb or they're not. Climbers and runners often go together. Or they're going to tantrum or they're not. It's not your fault that they start doing these things. It's just in their DNA somewhere, right? Especially if they're runners and climbers, they might end up being good athletes. You know, like it may seem like a negative right now, but down the road, it's not that bad. Tantrums are probably never great. But anyway. But yeah, what was I going to say about that? Oh yeah. So it's not your fault that they do these things in the first place, but you should be able to control it by the age of 3 or 4, around there. You should be able to control that. Or, you know, do a pretty good job. 4-year-old screaming when he gets in trouble. You mean yelling in anger at you, telling you off, or just crying? There's quite a difference there. Anyway, check out my behavior board, and you can start. So when you said he gets in trouble, well, I'm wondering what you do. Like, what makes him so mad or so upset? Is he screaming because he's angry, or he's scared? Not scared so much, but he's unhappy. So I don't quite know the whole picture there. Let's say he's angry. Okay, so he gets in trouble and he's angry. He just doesn't take his own medicine very well, does he? Anyway, get the behavior board set up, and that's completely free. Check it out. Or you can check out my boot camp course. That's 3 to 12 years old. So you can check that out if you'd like to. It just teaches you how to be a leader. It's all about you. Okay, so I'm just looking at all my notes here. I got so many things I always want to talk about, but then I just get caught up in answering questions. Okay, hello, your help is appreciated. Looking into your input on 5-year-old twins, hard to manage their emotions at the same time. 5-year-old twins, yeah. If children have emotions that are going up and down, generally that's a lack of leadership, because leadership tends to regulate their emotions. It happens organically. You don't discuss their emotions with them. It doesn't work that way. But if you're a calm leader, it makes them feel safe. It makes them feel secure. It just overall tends to calm them down. So I would work on I always keep going back to this. Remember, we're never fixing kids here. We're fixing and teaching parents. I teach parenting. I don't teach kidding or teenagering or toddlering. I teach parenting. You work on your leadership skills. You're at the height of your leadership from 3 to 12 years old with your kids. Like if they're 3 to 12 years old, you're at the height of your leadership. That's when you have the most power. Their behavior is a direct result of your parenting at that age, because they're looking to you for leadership, for guidance. If you don't provide that, by the way, they all need that. Every child needs, craves, and wants a leader. If you don't provide that for them, they're going to be very susceptible and vulnerable out there in the world. They're going to be very vulnerable to peer pressure, bullying, the drug dealer on the corner, the internet, Kardashians. You get the idea. Because they're looking for leadership somewhere, because they need it. They need it, crave it, and want it. The reason I'm back here again is I messed up. I thought today was Monday, so I did my lives earlier. That's 90 minutes of live, and now I'm doing another 90 minutes because I can't not do my regularly scheduled ones. I don't really care about doing 3 hours of lives. I find this quite enjoying. It's my voice. I'm worried about by the time I get to TikTok, what kind of shape am I going to be in? Okay, how to not over-respond to 12-year-old. Tween years are hard. Yeah, the teen years are generally the hardest. So you're not quite there yet. But how to not over-respond. What do you mean by over-respond? That says to me that you get upset very easily by their actions. That's what that says to me. In other words, they're controlling you. So if they can control your emotions, then they're in charge and they know it. So yeah, if a kid, and I've worked with troubled teenagers, I've worked with them all. The most important thing is when they do something to upset you is to not react. Say, oh, well, there you go then. Okay, well, let's think about how we'll handle this. So that's kind of the way I talk when a kid's trying to push my buttons, like when I was working with kids. Teenagers especially. So yeah, it says to me that you're reacting and they're going for it. But also, what kind of parent are you? Like if you're a pleaser parent, that's a bit of a disaster. That tends to raise self-entitled snowflakes with mental health issues, and they wipe their feet all over their parents. They never respect them. The old-fashioned authority-style parenting, I don't do either one. The old-fashioned authority-style parenting, not a bad way to parent. You're kind of a leader, but kind of more of a dictator. And it's okay, and you tend to raise good kids, good adults, but they rebel in the teen years, and then they come around and appreciate what you did for them. I teach leadership. They never rebel, and they kind of always appreciate you, and they certainly have strong personalities. Like they have a voice growing up, because you're accountable too. Okay, how to help my child? Cover an easy question. How to help my child with screen time? This is the source of most power struggles. I love this question. It's so straightforward and so easy for me to explain anyway. I don't like to micromanage children. So what I do is I say, okay, you've got so many hours per week, and you decide when you do that. And then I would put down each minute on a big graph paper, set it all up. You always want to look organized. It's very visual. So set up some kind of a big sheet, graph paper, whatever. This is how many minutes you've got per week. And then only you can touch that. So you can sign off your name or whatever. And so then it's up to them when they use them. So if they use up all their hours, let's say they have 10 hours a week. I don't know how old they are. It's just easy for me to do the math. So let's say they have 10 hours of screen time each week. Then you keep track of all the minutes, okay? And they can only do screen time when it's okay to do it. They can't get up at 3 in the morning and do screen time. You get the idea with that. Anyway, so then you let them manage it. If they use it all up by Thursday, they've got nothing for Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. That's on them. So they've only got themselves to blame. They will get mad at you initially because you won't give in and let them have more screen time, but that's okay. They'll eventually learn. Don't give in. Do not give in. Say, well, that was your choice. Now, you're going to learn how to manage yourself. You want responsibility and control over your own life. Here you go. Careful how you say that. Here you go. Okay. What are some examples, characteristics of being a good leader? Calm. When you're disciplining, it's very fast. It's very business-like. There's no emotions whatsoever. And the most important one is fun. You want to have fun with your kids. You want to be best friends with your kids, but you're always parent number one. But if you get good at this and you get good at having fun in their world, you always enter their world to connect with them. When you get good at this, they tend to look at you like a mentor, and they would never be rude to you. They would be embarrassed to be rude to a mentor. Someone that they look up to, that's fun, that plays with them a lot, that interacts with them a lot. They would be embarrassed to be rude to you. They just do, because they want to please you. And then when they're teenagers, they just won't want to disappoint you. It's not about having obedient little soldiers. It's about having kids with self-respect, and they respect you and you respect them. But yeah, calm and be fun in their world. Oh, the screen time one. That's it's not my favorite thing. I do have a favorite thing I like to answer. That's not my favorite thing to answer, but it's probably one of my most straightforward ones. It's just straightforward. Think about it though. How easy is that? You don't want to be micromanaging your kids. You want them to learn how to manage themselves. How to stop a teenage boy wanting to stay in bed most of the day? I don't know. He'll want to stay in bed most of the day, but how do you get him out of bed? I don't know your relationship with him. I really can't answer the teen stuff that easily because I always the first thing I work on is your relationship. I have to assess your relationship with your teenager. And then I have to know what to repair or what to say, okay, keep going with that. Let's get rid of that. Let's add that. You got to get your relationship sorted out before you can deal with anything. So it's about bonding and connecting with your teenager before you can even think about correcting what you don't like. The first session, parents of teenagers, when they hire me, they're not usually happy in that first session because they say, we didn't even do anything yet. And I said, no, but I told you how to improve your parenting style. Then we'll work on stuff. You can't come from where you are and work on what you want to correct with a teenager. You really got to up your parenting skills with teenagers. I'll read out the top 3 tips for parenting teenagers. Number 1, you listen to understand. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with. If you do, they're going to shut you out. If they want your advice, they're going to ask for it. Besides, they already know what it is. Number 2, negotiate pretty much everything. Hey, I want your dirty clothes in the hamper. What do you want from me? You don't do it with everything. It's just it's kind of an idea, but it's a good thing to keep in mind. And they just look at you differently. If you're negotiating and you're willing to give, they're more willing to give also. You see, you got to give respect to get it. With teenagers, it's a lot of give, and then a little bit of take. Number 3, the last one is don't sweat the small stuff. Don't micromanage a teenager. Save your energy for the big stuff if you even have it. But yeah, don't waste your energy. They're allowed to make mistakes. And if they do something stupid and it's not that big a deal, what I would have said was, hey, that was stupid. You want to hear what I did when I was your age? Like, it's okay to make mistakes. We all do. Life's messy. It's okay. Oh, you got a 9-year-old lying? Put down, if you've got kids who are lying and they're 3 years old and over, use the behavior board and put down no lying is their rule. And then you also put in brackets, I will decide when you're lying. So what you do, if you really are having a hard time catching them on lies, say, can you please tell me exactly what happened? And then you take notes. It makes you look more official. You go, oh, and that happened. And then what happened? And ask for great detail. Then maybe if they're 9 years old, maybe the next day or a few hours later, say, can you please go through that again? Don't let them see your notes. And then you take the notes. They will change the story to improve it if it's a lie. If it's the truth never changes. They could embellish the truth, but it never changes. Okay, so that's how you detect. And then say, I'll tell you what, I've decided you're lying. So here's the consequence on the behavior board. And then follow through with that. If they argue it, say, well, it's potential that you lied before and I didn't catch it. So maybe we're making up for that lie. So don't get pulled into arguing that. If you do, they're in charge. They know it. As soon as you go, I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, maybe they're in charge. And they don't want to be. All children need, crave, and want a leader. Every single teenager I've ever worked with has said to me they wish their parents had been tougher on them growing up. Not now, but they identify that discipline is love. Leadership is love. and they missed out if their parents didn't love them enough to discipline them. I've even had teenagers say that. My parents didn't love me enough to discipline me. Doesn't mean they're going to fight. They're not going to fight you in the moment, but they appreciate it later on. It's an investment in tomorrow. So yeah, think about that. I'm doing 3 hours of lives today because I messed up. I thought today was Monday, so I already did my hour and a half of lives. And now I'm doing another scheduled live because I have to do my scheduled ones. So my voice is already a little bit, I can feel my throat's a bit sore. I wasn't paying attention to the date. Okay. Okay. Realistically, just a sec. Realistically, how much time should we be playing, interacting with our toddler? Is it good for them to have on their own time? Yes, it is, of course. So that's a hard question to answer because everyone's different. I don't know how many hours you put in at work, what your lifestyle's like. Basically, find moments when you can. And you don't have to do it all the time, but you can say, hey, look, I got dinner on the go. It's all in the oven, whatever. How about we run around and we play hide and seek for 10 minutes? You can find moments. And also, kids don't care about quality time. They care about time. To a degree. They still want you to interact with them. But what I mean is a lot of parents say, well, we don't have a lot of time, but every single Saturday, all afternoon, it's all about them. That's not what they need. They need daily stuff too. Like a lot of parents are really hard workers and their kids are scheduled to the hilt. So they have no time at all with their kids. And I would say to that, make time. You got to make daily time with your kids. So yeah, that's a really hard question for me to answer because I don't know your setup, your family situation. But yeah, they care more about quantity than quality. They want both, but they would rather have you every single day not as great rather than one day a week great. I remember a friend of mine years ago when our kids were little, like 30 plus years ago, and she said she was really offended by this. She was a stay-at-home mom. And this working mom said, well, I appreciate that you're a stay-at-home mom, but when I'm with my kids, it's quality time. And we laughed at that because we were both stay-at-home moms. And we thought, yeah, like ours isn't. The kids were, see, like as if because we're stay-at-home moms, our time isn't quality, but hers was. So yeah, kids don't really care about that. They'd rather have more of you than less, no matter how you look at it. How do you deal with when you catch oh, sorry, I already answered that one. What do I do about my twin girls biting each other? They're 18 months. Not much. Just keep them separate as much as possible. Like put a little bit of distance between them and make sure they each have the same toy. Yeah, there's not much I can tell you. Supervision. Supervise. I can't be there all the time. I know you can't. You're just going to have to go through some rough stuff. You got twins. It's just the way it is. Could you answer my question? Don't know what it is. I answer what I see. I have 9 and 2.5-year-olds. Sometimes, not often, one of them does not want to share. You can't teach a 2.5-year-old to share. But a 9-year-old, what I suggest you do with older kids, and they've got little ones that don't understand sharing, is with the older one, they have to have a safe place or a private place where they can put the stuff that they really don't want to share. You say to them, look, I know you're older, you don't have to share everything, but everything that you truly don't want to share, it can go there. So they have to keep it away somewhere where the little one can't get it. And again, I get very specific with advice and coaching. I don't know your setup. I don't know your house or, what are they sharing? What aren't they? There's a lot of details. It's hard for me to give general answers when I can't assess the exact situation. Like in coaching, it's very different in coaching because I get to know what they're doing. But yeah, I'm not really happy with that answer, but that's kind of the best thing I can give you here. Mine are 15 months apart and they still fight what to do. Yeah, usually the closer in age, the more they fight. I don't know how old they are. Are they 16 or 5? I don't know. I need an age to answer that. Whoops. So I got so many different screens going here. Okay. While I'm waiting, I'm just going to go through the 4 different stages of parenting. This isn't about the kids. This is about you. You will go through 4 very distinct stages when you're a parent. The first one is baby stage, 0 to 15 months. That's all nurturing, picking them up when they cry. That's all that stuff. And then toddler, 16 to 35 months. That's when you're starting to exercise your leadership. You're saying no. It's all about consistent corrective action. So you're not picking them up every time they want. They're starting to learn some boundaries and restrictions and the way things go. And they're just starting to learn things. They're not going to get it right away. But anyway, they're consistent corrective actions for toddlers. Then you're going to go into parenting children. That's 3 to 12 years old. This is the sweet spot. This is when you are at your height of leadership. When your children are 3 to 12 years old, when you're a leader, they want to please you because you make them feel good about themselves. They have high self-esteem. They like themselves when they're with you. You're like a mentor. Then you will switch over to the teen years. Your leadership skills will take a little bit of a dive because you want them to take over some of that. You don't want them to want to please you. You don't want teenagers to live their life trying to please you. With younger ones, yeah, a little bit of that or a lot of that. But anyway, with teenagers, you just don't want them to want to disappoint you. So it just downgrades a little bit. But yeah, those are the 4 different stages: baby, toddler, child, and then teenager. The biggest problem that I see is parents don't adjust their parenting with teenagers. Teenagers, you need to back off and let them make mistakes. That's okay, just like you did. It's okay to make mistakes, but you don't get involved in the little stuff. Don't sweat the small stuff. But yeah, that's the biggest problem I see is it's not so much that there's anything wrong with the kids. It's your lack of understanding of their stage. Toddlers and teens are the most misunderstood children, the ages. Toddlers because they're just kind of crazy anyway, but teenagers because they need to start making mistakes and exercising their own leadership, right, of themselves. What advice, training, or resources do you have for an 11-year-old daughter who would like to start training for? Oh, I can't talk about that. I don't know. Yeah, I can't address that. So, because it could be a legal thing. Like how old do they have to be to babysit in your state, province, country? You see what I mean? I can't talk about that. What do you do if your husband is old school and always wants to yell at your kids and demand them? You mean you want me to tell you how to manage your husband? The best advice I can give you is to say, look, I found this. If you like what I'm saying, say, look, I found this woman. She's older. She knows what she's talking about. Just do a little bit of sales job there. And just say, I'm not happy with the way things are going with our kids. If he says they're great, then good luck with that. He's not going to agree. But if he agrees that the kids are out of control, say, look, can we just try her way for 3 weeks? And then we'll go back to your way if it doesn't work. And you can check out my boot camp course. Actually, that's 5 weeks. You can check out the boot camp course, but at the very least, check out the behavior board. The behavior board is completely free, and it goes for 3 weeks, 1 rule per week. Try that and see. And if you start to see improvements, he's more likely to get on board. That comes up a lot in coaching because oftentimes people will hire me, and there's a mom and a dad, and it's not always the mom. Sometimes, one of the parents usually sitting forward like this, and the other one's in the background like this. And it's like, gee, I wonder which one hired me. I wonder which one wanted to hire me. So yeah, I have to try and get them on the same page. Doesn't always work. Sometimes we have to make adjustments around there. But yeah, that's my job to try and get them on the same page. It can be challenging. Well, this is a very general question. Twins constantly comparing each other. I don't know. Are they 18? Are they 18 months? And what are they comparing? Are they boys, girls? I don't know. I need more information. Whenever I get a break in questions, I'm going to try and read out some of my. Okay, I just talked about this today, and I think it's really important. I should write that down actually, just a sec. Because I did a live earlier. I thought it was Monday today. And then I did my hour and a half of lives already, like an hour ago I did them. And then I realized I have my scheduled lives I have to do, so my voice may give out. Okay, I talked about this today earlier on the live, and I think it's really important. Parents are very quick. They think that a lot of them think that the way to increase your child's self-esteem is to praise them. It's ridiculous. The way that you increase their self-esteem is you increase their pride. You don't praise, you use pride. If you give them something to be proud of, like their behavior, give them something to be proud of. This empty praise, all that you're wonderful. I know you didn't mean to do it because you're special. You're this. They don't listen to that. It doesn't mean anything to them. And also, that is their love language, children's love language. If you want to make kids feel good about themselves, start playing with them in their world. Fun is their love language, not being praised. You're very special. I love you. You're so smart and beautiful. Now leave me alone. I'm going to go read a book. You see, they don't give a hoot about that. You know what they want to hear? Hey, you want to go to the park and play? That's their love language. It makes them feel special. Makes them feel special and love. That is children's love language, is play and fun. Gives them pride in themselves. So yeah, cut back on the praise. I don't really praise kids a lot. But I was very good at playing with them, and that made them feel great. Made them feel good about themselves. They felt special. So children's love language is fun. All these compliments and praise. Yeah, it's okay. But anyway, I work from home and having a hard time separating mom during the day is working. I feel like I'm often telling my kids that you're putting me in a very awkward position because I don't know your situation. Like, I don't know. Are you in the same room? Are you in a separate office? I don't know how to answer that. I don't know how to set up a structure because I don't know your hours. I don't know if you have a nanny at home. I don't know how old your kids are. If you want to hire me for that, that would be a perfect coaching thing. Everything's in the link above. Someone wrote here ages ago. They wrote a question. They said, "We're heading for divorce. Our kids are crazy. Give me your top 3 bits of advice." I read it out and then I said, "Next." That's a lot of it was even more than that. It was a lot of information. Then they wanted my quick, okay, how to fix all this right here, right now. It was hilarious. They didn't end up hiring me. Often people do after something like that. It was funny. Okay, so 5-year-old twins, boy, girl. Oh, okay. 5-year-old twins. Are those the ones that are fighting or comparing themselves? That's the one comparing themselves, right? It comes up, but I don't tend to, like, a lot of siblings compare themselves. I don't tend to differentiate between normal siblings and twins because they often are very competitive and resentful towards each other. Do you know what you do to encourage family unity is you don't do one-on-one time with each kid. If you're struggling with this and if you want them to have a better relationship, you play with them together. And the best way for kids to bond, how my kids bonded, a boy and a girl 5 years apart, what did they have in common? You know what they bonded over? Laughing at me. We did a lot of crazy stuff together. And they bonded over laughing at mom. Yeah, look what mom did. She's crazy. So yeah, you do stuff with them. You don't do one-on-one time. It builds resentment. And they do tend to resent each other as a result of that. So that's sort of what I'm thinking here might help is, yeah, a lot of people hire me and they say, like for coaching, and they'll say, sibling rivalry is my big problem. And they always say, I literally time my one-on-one time with each child. And I'm like, you mean you time the resentment time that you're building? They're like, what? And I said, yeah, when you are struggling with your kids not getting along or having issues between them, that then you do the one-on-one time, it makes it worse. So what you do is we talk about this all the time is how you have fun with them. In their world, you always play to the weakest link, the littlest one, and never do anything competitive. Like you're not playing like a board game where there's a winner and losers. I mean, it's not like that. It's more like you do silly stuff. Go to the park, have swinging contests, or do stuff where it's just all fun and silly. And that's how you encourage them to get along and not compare each other. I work from my computer and they're 5 and 2. Yeah, I don't know your setup. I don't know what you do with them outside of work either. And that's a big ask. You're asking me to help you to teach a 2-year-old how to understand that I've got to work now. I can't talk to you. It's impossible. It's absolutely impossible to teach a 2-year-old why they can't talk to you when they're right there. Like no, it's not reasonable. So, I don't know your setup. Maybe I could work with something if you want me to help you. But if you're just saying you're right there and you're on your computer and a 2-year-old's right there, expecting them to respect your work time is impossible. They're 2. Imagine if you're 2 years old and the first year you were a potato laying on a mattress. What's their observation? What's their picture of the world? Do they understand work and finance, making money, mortgage payments? No. 5-year-old, do they understand that? Maybe they could start to sort of grasp it, that work is important and it puts food on the table. 2-year-old, no. Okay. So social media marketing have to be on my phone at random. Yeah, you're going to have to hire me to discuss. We'll have to assess the whole situation, but still, I don't even know if I can help you, to be honest. If you're expecting them to, all of a sudden you're on the phone and I work with this sometimes and it's difficult. Okay, my 15-year-old, I love teenagers, they're my favorite. Okay, my 15-year-old son is hard to motivate getting every daily task done. I got a funny story I'm going to tell you. He hates to shower, brush his teeth. How do I get him to stop the angry reactions from him? Okay, I'm going to read out, first of all, I'm going to read out my top 3 tips for parenting teenagers. Then I'm going to tell you a funny story about my son. Number 1, this is my top 3 tips for parenting teenagers. You listen to understand and show empathy. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with, okay? So if they want your advice, they'll ask for it. Number 2 is you negotiate pretty much everything. Hey, I want you to put your dirty clothes in the hamper. What do you want from me? And you don't do it with absolutely everything, but it's just a general idea. And number 3 is don't sweat the small stuff. Let it go and save your energy for the big stuff because you're going to need it if it comes up. Okay, so now I'm going to tell you a funny story. My son was, I think, about 16. I don't know. Anyways, down the rec room, and he hadn't taken the garbage out yet, but he knew the garbage truck was coming soon, so it had to be done. So anyway, so it's time sensitive. So he hadn't taken the garbage out. So I go downstairs and I say, sweetie, I said, the garbage hasn't been taken out. The truck's going to be down, out there out front soon. And he said to me, he's like 16. It's like, I don't know, in the afternoon. So he's got his controller, his gaming controller in his lap. He's literally got it sitting down on his lap. He said, Mom, he says, and I really appreciate growth spurts, right? So, and he knew that. So he says, Mom, he says, I swear I am so tired. I can't even hold the controller up. It has to rest down here. Every bone aches. I think I'm going through a growth spurt. And I'm like, oh, sweetie, I understand. That's okay. So I went up and did the garbage. About 5 minutes later, he gets a call from a friend. All I hear is, Mom, going to meet Ray. See you later. And he takes off. All of a sudden, he's full of beans. He paid for that one later, by the way. But yeah, so they are very lazy when it's something they don't want to do. When it's something they want to do, they have beans forever. So good luck with that. If you want to hire me to teach you how to get mutual respect going with your teenager, that's what I do in coaching. But that stuff is hard to deal with until you really understand how to talk to a teenager. You got to work on your relationship with a teenager. I could tell you a lot of stories about this, but anyway, we'll move on. I love teenagers. Okay, someone said I follow hand-in-hand parenting. Well, I don't know what any other parenting styles are out there, so I don't comment on that. I stay in my lane. I am kid taught, so I've never read a book or anything on kids or parenting, or I don't know what anyone else is doing out there. The only way I know anything that's happening is when I get new clients, they'll tell me what they were doing and where they got it from. And I say, well, okay, so let's move on. We don't really I don't discuss what isn't working. I work on to what will work. I have 2 sons, 8 and 11, who have autism level. Sorry, I don't discuss autism on here. That's a specialty. I only discuss that in coaching. So, because they're sort of more special needs, so I can't discuss that on a live. But ADHD that's where I learned all this stuff. So all this stuff works with ADHD, or as much as with any other kid. Okay, you got a 3-year-old who doesn't want to do anything now, but okay, I'm trying to hit the see more button. It's very, very difficult to get. I can't even get it. Okay, there we go. How to encourage independent play with a 3-year-old. My daughter often says, you do it, or I need help, and won't try things on her own. Get real stupid and slow. This is what I would do. If she had something that she wanted you to help her with, I'd go, okay, I'll be there in a minute. Okay, and then do a chore or something. Oh, Mommy, I forgot, I'll be there in a minute. So get real stupid and slow. So it's like when you're hand feeding a kid that you don't want to hand feed, you get real slow and inept at it. Oops, I dropped it. And then they'll eventually learn to feed themselves. So yeah, I would just get real stupid and slow. Oh, okay, I forgot, I'll be there in a minute. And then she'll eventually learn to play on her own. Hopefully. If you keep running over there, maybe you're too efficient. Yeah, I get real stupid and slow. I'm good at that. Okay. How to get a 9-year-old to start keeping room tidy? Depends. What I would do is use a behavior board. That's on, it's free. It's in the link above there. Use the behavior board and you put something, oh shoot, I've gone over time. Anyway, put something on there like this, say follow chore chart, and on a chore chart, have them tidy their room is part of it. But I would get the ball rolling. I'd get in their room, completely clean it out, organize it, minimalize it, declutter it. So it's an easy thing to maintain. I don't expect a 9-year-old to start from scratch, but I would get them started so that they can just maintain a clean room. Like I'm really fussy and organized. I never clean anything dirty. I don't clean dirty, I maintain clean. So I think it's kind of unfair to have a 9-year-old, unless it's already really a clean, organized room. That's different. Anyway, I got to go over to Instagram now. I'm late, so I got to get over there. And if you want to follow me, it's Instagram, Bratbusters Parenting. Okay. There we go. Just waiting for people to turn up. You can ask questions on YouTube also. It's just I don't have a big following on YouTube yet, so and Instagram is my busiest live. TikTok's pretty big too. Instagram right now is my busiest. So I'm talking to YouTube. Yeah, I'm here again. I was here about an hour ago. I thought it was Monday. In my head, it was Monday. And I just did a live. And then I remembered I have my scheduled live. So I have to do 3 hours of lives today just because I thought it was Monday. So we'll see how my voice pans out after a while. So anyway, welcome back. You might have been here earlier even, I don't know. Anyway, so and I'm sorry I'm late. I was answering a question on the live on Facebook. So that's why I'm a bit late, which I don't like to do. But anyway, sorry I was a bit late. Anyway, if you're new here, my name's Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. If you go on the link above, you can see my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course for 3 to 12 years old, or you can hire me for Zoom coaching. So I was confused too. Why I was here twice? Yeah, isn't that dumb? How could I think it was Monday? Anyway, so I thought, oh God, I have to do it again. And my voice, because I don't know why, but I tend to yell when I'm doing lives. So how's my voice going? But so far, so good. Okay. I mean, I actually really enjoy doing lives. I find this relaxing. Okay. Traveling with a toddler. Any tips? Nope. Not one. Not one. I did it. We did it with toddlers, and it's just, it can go really well. You can be as organized as you want, but especially on a plane, their ears might pop or something. So you just, yeah, sorry, I've got no tips. None. I don't usually say that, but yeah, I got no tip. Traveling with a toddler. Good luck. There you go. I've done it. It's not pretty. Can go okay, but how can I keep my 20-month-old in bed? She always gets out of her toddler bed. Oh, she's got her own bed. Okay, check out my bedtime battles course. It's one of my mini toddler courses. It actually goes from 2 to 8 years old, but you might want to check that out because she's only 20 months old, a little bit early, but you can check that out. If she's already in a toddler bed, it might work for you. So, but yeah, check that one out. It's in 2 parts. The first one is how to get them to bed. The second one is how to keep them there. That's the hard part. That can go for hours. It's usually only one night of hell. And then it's usually gets better after that. Or often it only takes one night. Because if the worse that first night is, the less likely they are to get out of bed again. But yeah, it can get ugly. Everyone wants the rainbow. And they always want, what's an easy way to parent? Well, yeah. But when you got to go through the storm to get to the rainbow. Once you get to the rainbow, once you've got mutual respect with your kids, maintaining that is easy. Getting it is hard. That's what I'm teaching is how you get it. I never got it. I maintained it because I knew how. I had a lot of experience with kids before I had my own. So I kind of got respect when they were little, and then I just maintained it. That's the easy part. Getting it is hard work, but it's worth it. It's like 3 to 6 weeks usually. With teenagers, it might be 3 months. But it's not always. It's never perfect, but pretty darn good. So. 3 and 4-year-old refusing to follow behavior board consequences. How should I proceed? Well, there's 2 consequences. So you have total control over the second one. Media blackout for 24 hours or take something away for 24 hours. There's 2 consequences for kids. One is a positive action. If they won't do that, then you do the negative deprivation. You take something away. So you do have control over that. And some parents say they don't care about anything. There's always some leverage. There's always something we can find. There's usually something that they like that you can take away. So 24 hours. Once you've gone there, once you said that, you have to make it happen. Okay, you didn't empty the dishwasher. Remember the consequence for hitting was emptying the dishwasher, whatever. And you say you wouldn't do that. And I set the timer. You didn't do it in the 10 minutes you were supposed to. So media blackout, no screens for 24 hours. Starts now. Okay, I'll empty the dishwasher. You can if you want, but you've still got media blackout. See, once you said it, it has to happen. Don't be afraid of a fit, a scene, or a tantrum. If you are, your children are totally, totally in charge, and they know it. If you're afraid of fit scenes and tantrums, they are in charge, guaranteed. Like, I remember I was working with a kid once. He was about 8 years old, and he was a handful. He didn't know he hadn't met me. So he said to me, I said no to something because he asked for something ridiculous. And I said, no, you can't have that. And he says, if you don't give me what I want, I'm going to have a fit. And I said to him, bring it on. And he never did. He went like this, like he wasn't used to someone calling his bluff. Or even if he had a fit, what do I care? I know what to do. So yeah, if you're afraid of that, they are in charge. And boy, do they know it. When I said that to that kid, you should have seen his face. It's great. We're happy to see you again. Yeah, I'm here. I'm doing a 3-hour live today because I thought it was Monday and I did my live earlier. And then I realized I had literally sat back and I was going to do some other videos. And I was getting ready to do them. And I thought, oh no, it's Tuesday. I got to do another hour and a half. I got to save my voice. So I can't do any videos if I'm doing 3 hours of live. It's funny. Don't be me. Transition to toddler bed and super nervous about it. How do we start? Yeah, I don't know. You know what? That word transition comes up an awful lot. It comes up so much. Did I even I'm going to put one in one of my general notes that I like to talk about a lot. Transitions. I think I did write it down. Sorry, I have a whole bunch of stuff I like to talk about a lot. Transitions are hard for everybody. They're hard for adults. Hey, we're moving house. That's a transition. That's hard to do. Some of them are fun. Hey, we're getting a new car, real fancy thing. That's a fun transition. But generally, they're hard. Change is hard for all of us. Our brains are wired for consistency and repetition, evidently. I read these things all the time about what our brain power. Turns out I don't have much. But anyway, so transitions are hard for them. Don't expect it to be easy. Expect it to be a challenge. So that's number one, is expect it to be difficult. So what you do is you set it all up. What I did with my kids, as soon as they flopped out of their crib, that's when I thought, oh, that's it. They hit the floor. And now I'm going to dismantle the whole crib. And I just put their mattress down and I put pillows around it. I also bought them something new, like a cuddly teddy bear or something to make it more fun and make staying in bed more like this is where you stay. And then what you can do these days, my kids are old, but what you could do these days, they have all those galaxy lights and sound machines and, everything to make their room more less scary. And so if they do get up, it's less scary. So yeah, try all that. And it's just going to be difficult. Also, check out my Bedtime Battles course. It teaches you how to get kids in bed and how to keep them there. And good luck with that. It's usually one night of hell. But oftentimes that's only one night. Wouldn't you rather one night of hell and then everything's kind of easier after that? I'm always up for the storm because I know that the storm is where you get the rainbow. You got to go through the storm to get to the rainbow. And and I know it works. So I know I'm willing to go through that storm because I want that rainbow. But I know you have to go through the hard stuff. And that's just part of it. Kind of like that with everything. Everything worthwhile is hard work. Except, I guess, if you win lotto. How do I get my 18-month-old to start walking? He did it once and then stopped. Well, is that a big deal? It's funny, everyone with a first child wants them to walk and talk instantly. And they're often using flashcards, accelerated learning. By the time you have your second kid, oh God, I hope they don't walk or talk till they're 5. You're not in any rush the second time. So I don't know if it's that important to you. If you're really concerned, maybe go to a pediatrician or a doctor if you're concerned. But some kids don't walk till they're 3. So they just couldn't be bothered. It's not that important to them. You can use all the lures. Look at this up here, You can give that a go if it's important to you. I don't quite know what you mean by this. How do I make pajamas time easier with a 2-year-old? We currently get the worst tantrum at that time. Help, please. Pajamas time, bedtime? I don't know. You can check out my Bedtime Battles course about, geez, I can't believe how often that's come up tonight. Is it because it's almost bedtime? Anyway, Bedtime Battles course is one of my mini toddler courses, and it teaches you how to get them in bed and how to keep them there. It's for 2 to 8-year-olds. You can check that out. It just gets a routine going and teaches you how to set up a routine. So, but yeah, you can check that out. It's a whole process, a whole system. So I can't really go into all that here. Oh, weaning off a pacifier and scared is the right way to do it. Well, I'll tell you my story with my son. He was addicted to it. And someone asked about traveling with a toddler. We had to go overseas. We lived in Australia. My kids were born and raised there. And he was 18 months old. And we were going to come to Canada and visit my family. So I would have taken him off the pacifier way before that. But I thought, no way am I going to get a long haul 24-hour flight or, trip with an 18-month-old, just taking the pacifier out. I was keeping that pacifier in. So we get home and I had jet lag. My son and I were home. Husband went to work and my son and I were home. And we had jet lag and it just wasn't a good day. And I thought, today's the day I'm going to get rid of those dummies. So I said to him, okay, you're a big boy now. You don't need these anymore. So we're going to put them all in a little bag and we zipped them up. And then I carried him out to the big wheelie bin in the garage. And he had the little Ziploc bag with all of his dummies in it. And I said, okay, there they go. You're a big boy now. You don't need these. And he dropped them in there and I closed the lid. So he kind of knew, he was learning by now that when mom said something, it was going to happen. Dad, not so much. Dad might have gone feet up in the wheelie bin and collected them. He knew I wouldn't have done that. But when a child has tantrums like he did, that doesn't matter anyway. So I thought, I'm going to be in for one heck of a day. Anyway, but I also bought him new sippy cups where he could chew on the straw. It was a really solid, like this rubber, anyway, it was a good straw so that he can kind of chew on that. It might help a little bit. So anyway, I got him all those. And then for the rest, I just thought, I am just going to be in for it today. I have jet lag and then I've taken him off the pacifier. How stupid am I? Anyway, I was just dreading it. I was dreading it. And then every so often he'd look over at me and he'd go like this. And then he'd look over at me and I'd go, oops. And I'd look away. I would not get eye contact when he was thinking about the dummy. He didn't ask for a dummy once. Not once, not ever. I was stunned because that was not his personality. He had tantrums. And I thought he's going to have tantrum after tantrum. And he never once asked for them. So I don't think that'll necessarily work for everybody. I do think there was a lot of luck involved in that one. Just a total fluke. But yeah, I do think my point is, I think it's like ripping off a Band-Aid. I would do it all in one go. I wouldn't let them have a pacifier just at night or just at nap time. I just wouldn't. It's like when I took my kids off the bottle, that was it. They all went in the garbage or, hid them away somewhere where they didn't think I could get them again. And then we went straight into the sippy cups. So I never weaned them off anything. Like with breastfeeding, I didn't wean them off. It was just, that's it, all gone. Okay. So you've got a runner, a 2-year-old boy who has no fear and runners. That's one of the 4 things I talk about, that they're either born to do and they're going to do them or they're never going to do them. One is running, one is climbing, one is aggressiveness. They either hit or they never do. And the other one is tantrums. What you do with a runner, if you're going to go out in public and they're going to take off on you, have them on a harness before you even go out and then clip them in. Have a leash or a strap or whatever you want to call it. And you just clip them in as soon as they start to run. You say, no running. You stay with me. And then you keep them clipped in for the rest of that outing. All right, is it going to get ugly? Yeah. Is it worth it? Yeah. You got to be willing to go through these fit scenes and tantrums to make a point, to show your leadership. So yeah, a lot of parents say, oh, it's just going to be a disaster. Yeah, that's right. That's how they learn. You got to be willing to go through the storm to get to the rainbow. I've said that so many times, but it's so true. Oh my goodness, I missed a lot of questions. I'm zipping through because people come and go, so I'm going to answer the most recent questions. Okay, I already talked about transitioning from a cot to you must be Australian, cot, because I raised my kids in Australia. It's not called a crib over there. All my baby terms are Australian because that's where my kids were born. Have you ever faced violence involving a teenager? And if so, how did you resolve the situation? Well, I haven't ever faced it personally myself, but I have worked with violent teenagers. So, but no, I don't discuss that because if you've got a violent teenager that's physical, that actually can be police involvement. So yeah, I can't get involved in that. But I've never been, I've dealt with a lot of violent teenagers, but they've never been violent towards me. So, or I wouldn't do it. I'm not in there to get knifed or punched. So, and I just mentored them. It was all volunteer work. So yeah, that's a different level. But a lot of my clients have violent teenagers. So I coach parents through this, but I don't deal with it. If you have a violent teenager, you'd have to hire me to discuss that and we can go through it. But it is difficult. And we're never going to get to what you want for probably the first 2 sessions. It's just assessing it and deciding we're going to get a plan in place and it's difficult. Transition. Oh, I'm sorry, I already read that. My 3.5-year-old son gets very angry when we say no to him. He even screams, says it's going to hurt him, says he's going to hurt himself. What do I do? That's interesting. The 3.5-year-old is threatening self-harm. That's interesting. What they'll do. You're put me in an awkward position now, because when a kid says they're going to self-harm, I can't answer that the way I'd like to. You know why? Can you guess why? I can't. Because as soon as you said going to hurt himself, I can't answer that. Yeah. When kids threaten to self-harm, I have to. I'm not in any profession that I'm under some umbrella, but ethically, if you say that they're threatening self-harm, we have to assume that they might. That's why I can't answer it. It's an awkward one. Sorry about that. Do you understand why I can't answer that, though? Yeah. Yeah, my gut reaction, this is my gut reaction. This is what I can tell you. My gut reaction is he's just manipulating you. But I don't know if he is. Maybe he will self-harm. You see what I mean? See where I'm between a rock and a hard place here. 2-year-old's throwing himself on the floor while having a tantrum. Well, don't they all? That's what they do. So I don't know what you mean. That is a tantrum. That's what they do. But yeah, let's just leave them there. You just ignore them. I have a whole bunch of videos on tantrums. Especially on TikTok. I have a whole toddler playlist. At the top of my TikTok, I don't know what's on Instagram. I don't do my Instagram, so I don't know I don't actually know Instagram. I don't understand it. That's why I don't do it. Someone else does for me. But anyway, I have a whole bunch of how you ignore tantrums. I also have toddler tantrum busting course. One of my mini courses goes into great detail. But yeah, you just ignore tantrums. Unless they're hurting themselves. If they're hurting themselves, someone else, or damaging property, you physically restrain them while they're doing that. You have to keep them safe. But yeah, they all throw themselves on the ground. I don't think a toddler ever stands and has a tantrum. Don't they all hit the floor? Pretty much. Oh God, you're going to hate my answer. Advice for a 2.5-year-old won't stop spitting. We say we don't want to spread germs, but he just won't. You mean you're trying to reason with him and discuss germs and illness with a 2.5-year-old? Don't waste your time. Those are the mini therapy sessions that are just, it's not worth it. So anyway, you just say no spitting. And when you spit, every time they spit, you make sure that you take a toy away or take him away from the fun, or make sure there's consistent corrective action every single time he spits. But don't try and talk to him about medical issues. Like, he's 2.5. You're trying to reason with them. You don't, it would be like if you were speeding like crazy down the freeway and a cop pulled you over. You know you shouldn't. That could be dangerous. Okay, see you later. What's that going to do? Squat. What does a ticket do? It makes a difference, doesn't it? There's got to be a consequence. We all learn through consequences. Would we pay our rent or our mortgage if we knew we never had to? Would we pay for our groceries if we knew we never had to? The consequence is we'd go to jail. We'd be kicked out of our home. That's how we all live. We all live through consequences. So the sooner you teach this to your children, the better. You don't say, you shouldn't do that. It's like your landlord, you should pay rent, but there's no consequence. You see? Does it make any sense? You got to prepare them for the real world. The sooner they learn that there's a consequence for negative behavior, the better. My kids were self-disciplining by about 3.5. They understood mom was going to make sure there was a consequence. If they chose poorly, I used to say to them, if you're good, life is good. If you're bad, life ain't so good. I'll make sure of that because I'm your mom and that's my job. So they were an easy piece of cake. They self-disciplined. We never have to discipline them. Well, you're not going to like my answer. How do I teach my 3-year-old twins to keep their voices down when staying in a hotel? Do you expect them to keep their voices down when they're staying at home? So you expect different personalities when you're in a hotel than you do at home? That's not reasonable for a 3-year-old. It's not reasonable. So if they're loud and wild at home, they're going to be loud and wild in a hotel. You can't expect them to have different personalities when you're in a hotel. It's an unreasonable expectation of a 3-year-old. Examples for a 3-year-old, consequences. So if they do something bad using the behavior board and they make a mistake and they do bad behavior, then there has to be a consequence. It's usually a chore. And don't worry about them. People say, well, should chores be looked at as bad? Well, yeah. What's the difference? Like, yeah. And even if they like doing the chore, it's still doing a good deed. So you make a bad choice and do something bad, so you have to do a good deed. It's just connecting the dots there. It's a brain pattern thing. So, and if they won't do that, which is fine, you almost wish they wouldn't. If they're really a handful and they won't do the good deed or the chore that you've put down on the board, then you take something away. Because remember, there's always two consequences for the kids. There's a positive action that you start with. If they won't do that in the time allotted, because you always have it timed. Otherwise, what's the point? So you have it timed. If they won't do it, then you say, oh, that's fine. You don't have to do it then. No TV now, or no screens for 24 hours. You resort to the negative deprivation. You can always take something away, but you can't always. You'd always rather start with getting them to do something. Always. So you're giving them a choice. You can either do something or I'm taking something away. It's up to them. It's their choice. I used to say that to my kids all the time. It's your choice. If you choose bad behavior, you're choosing to have a consequence. That's your choice. And they got it they were like 3.5, and they just got it. Because I followed through every single time. And then I didn't have to discipline after that. You just got to be on your toes initially when they're little, especially. You got to put the ages down or I can't answer. Okay, how do I teach my daughter personal space? Well, you're lucky she's 3 because you can put that on the behavior board. When someone says no, when someone says don't climb on me, or word it however she would understand it. No climbing on family members, don't climbing on people or something like that. Okay, and then also make sure that that's not playtime because she won't understand. How come sometimes we can do that and other times we can't? So it has to be a blanket rule. Like there's no climbing on people even when you're having fun, because I'm suggesting that maybe you allow it sometimes, but other times you don't. Right? Is it inconsistent there? So say, and there's a consequence. If she climbs on people, here's the consequence. So, yeah, but it's got to be consistent because it sounds to me like when you said it's a game even when her siblings become annoyed. So sometimes it's tolerated. Doesn't make any sense to her. Why can I do it sometimes and not others? So she's going to keep trying it because it might be one of those times she can do it. Have you asked this before? The wording is, months ago, someone worded this exactly the same way. How do I teach my kids emotional regulation when I lack the skills myself? Example, I default to yelling when I'm tired. You're going to have to work on yourself before you can work on your kids. Work on your leadership skills. Check out my boot camp course. It's all focused on you and your leadership. It teaches you what else to do instead of yelling. It's not just telling you to stop yelling. Stop yelling. But so what am I supposed to do? That's what that course teaches you. Check that out. It's the boot camp course. If you don't want to go for that, check out the behavior board. It just starts to set systems where you can start learning how to regulate yourself. You can't teach them to regulate if you're not regulated. Remember, they're not listening to you. They're watching you. So if you're not regulated, you can't expect them to be. It's unreasonable. So check out the boot camp course. That might be perfect for you because it's all focused on you. It's all about you. It's called parenting, not kidding or teenagering. It's all about you. Okay, thank God you didn't say the other thing that the other person said, so I can actually answer this, and they can benefit from this too. You know the one I said because they talked about hurting themselves? This one's the same answer. But 7-year-old, after consequences are told, he starts to cry and yells that I don't love him, I hate him, and his brother gets everything and he doesn't. So, okay, pure manipulation. Unless you're not meeting his needs. Are you unfair? Do you love the brother more and he gets everything? But if that's not the case at all, which I'm doubting it is, so if he comes at you like that, okay, let's say you go to the behavior board, you say you broke that rule, so here's the consequence. He starts screaming and yelling, and I would just go, okay, so then that starts and you can empty the dishwasher starting now, okay? He's yelling and screaming and yelling and just go like this, whatever. Let it go. And if he keeps at you and you're timing it, because you've got this empty the dishwasher in 10 minutes or whatever it is, and if he says, it's not fair, I didn't know, say, well, you'll know next time, won't you? He's 7. Don't get pulled into it. You're like a puppet and he's got the strings going. You hate me, I don't love me, you don't love me, whatever. Now, the thing is, if they say all those things when they're at Disneyland, then you might worry. If they're saying those things just because they don't like a consequence that you just imposed because of something naughty they did, pure manipulation. Yeah, if they say it during a happy time, then I'd go, well, what's going on here, buddy? Then I'd investigate. Oh, is age 2 when you start implementing consequences for behavior? No. That's consistent corrective actions. Under the age of 3, the behavior board starts at 3. Under the age of 3, it's consistent corrective actions right in the moment. Okay, they live in the moment, not they can't reason things through for later. Anyway, I gotta go. I've got to go over to TikTok now. So I did Facebook, now I've done Instagram, and I'm moving over to TikTok right now. So if you want to join me over there, it's Bratbusters Parenting. And if not, check out the live for my free behavior board, my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, and my coaching services. Thanks for joining me. Oh, I got 5 people on YouTube. Don't have a big following there yet, so sorry. I'm just trying to get on here. Yeah, it's the right one. Got so many different channels everywhere. Okay, there we go. Okay. Take a drink. Hello. Hello, I am. That reminds me, because I am is due in March, her first baby, and my first grandchild is now overdue. So that's all we're doing is we're just waiting to hear. Like everything's packed up, ready to go. So yeah, late. That's just not fair. I have 2 kids. My son was born on his due date, and my daughter was born 2 days early. So I was very lucky that way. I didn't have to wait. Oh, good. Okay. Joining from Instagram, hoping you can answer my. Well, if you ask right now, I might be able to because not a lot people come in slower in TikTok. Instagram, everyone's there right exact same time. It's bizarre how it happens. Okay, so I'll look out for your question. Put your little heart there. Bu- 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 bu. Okay, this is such a good question. You're not going to like my answer, but anyway, is there ever a time to acknowledge a toddler's feelings, and what does that look like? Okay, toddlers are all about actions. Their language is fun. Like if they want to feel loved and special, you play with them in their world. So you are addressing all their feelings, but it's indirect. They're not about therapy sessions discussing them all. That's for you. That's for your benefit. It has nothing to do with your kid. Nothing to do with your toddler at all. Nothing. They're about play. If you want to make them feel good, you play with them in their world. Go to the park and roll down the hill with them. Don't just sit and watch them. You get involved. So it happens organically. If they're sad about something, pick them up and dance around with them, cuddle them. That is how you show a toddler love. You don't have the therapy sessions. I know it's trendy right now. It's just garbage. It's absolute garbage. I don't know who invented that, but who cares? I saw that coming 30 years ago, and I thought, are you freaking kidding me? How stupid is this? Of course, it was some psychologist, and everyone took them as law that, anyway, dumbest thing in the world. Not the dumbest thing in the world, but annoys the heck out of me because so many parents get caught up in this therapy session stuff with their toddlers, and then they don't do what they should be doing, which is actions. Play with them. Play with them. Be fun. That's their love language. You said the behavior board. This is from Maj. Sorry, I can't say your name. I can't pronounce it. Anyway, this is on YouTube. You said the behavior board starts at 3 years old. Our daughter's 2, and my husband and I both have a problem with yelling. How do we deal with that without a behavior board? Well, just use consistent corrective actions, okay? Because they're not about the behavior board at that age. They can't stop and think and reason at all at 2. So you just use consistent corrective actions right in the moment. Every time she does something you don't like, you say no. Then you take an action. You either push her away from the fun, just gently remove her from the fun, remove the fun from her just for a few minutes or whatever. And you don't talk to her or look at her. After you've said no, then you remove her, and then you just kind of go about your business like it didn't even happen. I know there's a million different, details that are in there, but it'd have to be very specific. Okay. Okay, so I'm just getting my notes all in order here. 17-month-old tantrums with diaper and clothing, have ignored and continue to dress with no improvement. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know how long it's been going on, but it can take a month or so. It depends on if you gave in before, too. So, but yeah, it's just going to take a while. They're just crazy. Toddlers are crazy. I'm going to read the top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. I know whenever I get clients, and the only reason I ask this question is so I can tell you this. So, whenever I get clients who have a toddler and an older child, we're always working with the older child. I say, "Did you want to discuss the toddler?" They all go, "Ah, no, they're just toddlers. They're crazy." Like they identify it. I literally usually say that. Ah, they're just crazy. So I don't even want to talk about them. Anyway, the odd time they do, different things come up, but it's rare. Okay, so this is my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. Oh, by the way, a lot of parents hire me for their toddlers, but if they have an older child and a toddler, that's when they don't usually talk about the toddler. Okay, so my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. Number 1, child-proof your home so you never have to say no. By the way, these are blanket statements. You might have to say no sometimes, but that's just sort of a general term. Number 2 is set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. Number 3 is when you want to connect with a toddler, you enter their world. You go to the park and roll down the hill with them. You don't go to the nail salon to connect with a toddler. It's always in their world. And number 4 is how you discipline a toddler. It's also in their world. They're not about the mini therapy sessions discussing all their big feelings, big emotions, and all that garbage. That's ridiculous. They're about consistent corrective actions. They're watching you. They're not listening to you. And that pretty much goes true for quite some time, by the way. You can talk to them when they're 3 and that, but evidently up until the age of 7, it's all they're learning more through actions. They're forming through watching you. They're listening to you at the same time as they get older, but they're learning through watching you till they're 7. Interesting, eh? Some big scientists just found that out. Makes sense though. Number 5 for how to parent toddlers is stop trying to figure them out. They're not figure outable. They're brand new, fresh human beings. If they've only been in the world for 2 years and the first year they were a potato laying on a mattress, come on. I mean, stop trying to figure them out. They're brand new, fresh human beings. They're just forming. I always call toddlers crazy. It's not so much that they're crazy. They just haven't developed sanity yet, okay? They might even go like this and smear poop on the wall. Is that crazy? Yeah, a little bit. To them, no, not so much. They're just forming. What about a 7-year-old with anger issues or bad attitudes? Okay, I don't know if they have some kind of I don't know, some kind of a challenge within their personality, but generally my gut reaction is you're not a leader. If you're a leader, it tends to calm them down. Children feel safe and calm when they've got a leader as a parent. Work on your leadership skills. You might want to check out my boot camp course. That's for 3 to 12 years old, and it's all focused on you, your leadership. Now, I've got respect from hundreds of kids I've worked with throughout the years, all ages, toddlers, teenagers, hundreds of them, by being a calm leader. But I'm crazy when it comes to humor and fun. When you're disciplining and you're talking about serious stuff, it's all business. There's no emotions, none. When you're disciplining, it's a business transaction. There are 0 emotions. Hey, I didn't like what you just, like I can be crazy, underpants on my head, chasing the kids around the house. If they ever did anything I didn't like, and off come the underpants, I go, tell you what, I didn't like that. So we're going to stop running around for 1 whole minute. Do you understand? Okay. That's how I do it. Very, very calm. It calms them down. Remember, you're leading. They're watching and they're following you. Right? So if you're not a leader, they can get upset. Their emotions are all over the place. 4 and 5-year-olds always whining, yelling, screaming, worse when others are around, when to seek intervention. Well, they're usually worse when others are around because they haven't got your undivided attention. They also know that you're too embarrassed to discipline them when other people are around. You probably don't want to yell, which is probably what you're doing. Am I right? When to seek intervention. What do you mean intervention? You mean like a counselor comes in and intervenes? I don't know what you mean by that. But anyway, if you want to hire me, maybe that's what you're talking about. Yeah, I would do it sooner rather than later for sure. But anyway, or check out my boot camp course if you want. But if it sounds like they're kind of out of control, work on your leadership skills. That wouldn't happen. Children aren't wild when they've got a leader. They just aren't, because you're meeting their needs and managing their wants. And you're very consistent and very calm. When you're managing their wants, that's the discipline. That's when you're very calm. The rest of the time, you can be crazy and loud and fun. Remember, children's love language is fun. It's not praise. It's not being given gifts. It's not being taken out somewhere for ice cream. That's okay. But their real love language is when you play with them in their world. Get down on the ground and play blocks with them. Go to the park, roll down the hill with them. They just look at you differently. They feel so special, so respected, so wanted, so loved. That's their love language. Tends to regulate their emotions too. Just does. Just works. Doesn't that make sense? Does that make sense? Children's love language is fun. Okay. Makes sense. I think I have more problems with my 7-year-old more than my 2-year-old. Yeah. Well, they can challenge you more. And everything that you've done right magnifies as they grow. You know what I'm going to say next, right? Everything that you've done wrong magnifies and grows as they get older. So whatever you've done right, you're investing in tomorrow in a good way. Whatever you've done wrong, yeah, it's going to come back at you. So it all grows with the kids. But you know, a lot of people hire me and they want to talk about everything they did wrong. I don't listen to that. I always say, I don't talk about that. Let's work on solutions. It would be like going to a weight loss place and wanting to talk about how you gained weight. Why would you want to do that? Don't you want to talk about how you're going to lose weight and get healthy? So it's kind of like that. I'm all solution based. I'm focused on solutions, and I'm focused on today and tomorrow. But a lot of people want to talk about yesterday, which we do a little bit for sure. There's a little bit of that, but not much. How do I go about hiring you? Just check out the link above. It's all in there. It's under coaching. It's all in the link. Okay. My 3.5-year-old gets angry and wants to hit when we say no to him. Advice. So you say no. I was just going to go in a different direction with that. Anyway, so your 3.5-year-old gets angry and wants to hit when we say no. So you say no to him and he wants to hit. Just say, when he goes to hit you, just say no. Or you could let him hit you and then have on the behavior board, you put down no hitting on the behavior board. Because he's 3.5, they can use the behavior board. And you put down no hitting. Every time he does is a consequence. So let him hit you and say, no, let's go to the behavior board. And here's the consequence, okay? And if he gets even madder and starts hitting again, say, okay, we're going to go to the second consequence. Check out the behavior board. You'll see why there are 2 consequences. The first one is a positive action. If that doesn't work, you go to the negative deprivation. They don't want that one. But if they're next level with this stuff and really pushing you, you don't start with the negative deprivation, but you go there very quickly. Like if he hit you and you said, okay, you're going to have to make my bed or something as your consequence. No, when he hits you again, say, okay, I'll tell you what, media blackout now for a whole day. So no screens. And then make it happen. Even if he says, I'm sorry, I'll make your bed. Say, too late. It's already media blackout. It's happening. You got to follow through. If you're afraid of your children's scenes, fits, and tantrums, they are in charge. And boy, do they know it. I tell this story all the time. It's such a quick, but it's a good one. This 8-year-old kid, he was a handful. He didn't know me. And he said to me, if you don't give me what I want, I'm going to have a fit. And he said it just like that, like, spitting at me almost. He was just really, really pushy. So I said to him, bring it on. And he went like this. And he never did. He was just shocked because I have no fear of it. I love that. You know, I love going through the storm because I know how to get to the rainbow. Once I know the rainbow's on the other side, the storm to me is like, bring it on. Yeah. Oh, go ahead. Have a fit. I know how to care. I know how to deal with that. Go ahead. You can do whatever you want. I know how to deal with it. So go right ahead. Have a fit. Do you want me to get out of your way? You know, I didn't go that far, but that's what I'm thinking to myself is sure. That's where the magic happens because I know how to deal with that. Every single fit, scene, and tantrum is my opportunity to exercise my leadership. You just take a step up. Each time they have a fit, a scene, or a tantrum, and you manage it well, you take a step up in the leadership. It's the way it goes. So embrace them. That's your opportunity to exercise your leadership. Check out my link above. You can get my free behavior board that starts at the age of 3, or you can get my mini toddler courses. That's under the age of 3 mostly. And then the big course is the boot camp course. That's 3 to 12 years old. It's all focused on you and your leadership. And then the coaching is for any age. But I don't have anything for teenagers other than coaching. That's one-on-one with me. It's all done on Zoom, so it doesn't matter where you live. Okay, alternatives for timeout, because you know I hate timeout. Yeah, check out, I just said the behavior board is an alternative. It'll teach you how to do that. And or else if they're under the age of 3, it's consistent corrective actions. So rather than sending them a timeout, you remove them from the fun or remove the fun from them temporarily. Do you ignore sass from a 13-year-old girl? I could go in so many different directions. Yes, I do. Yeah, I never address attitude. There's no point. You can try. Let me know how that goes. Like I've never addressed attitude, not once, not ever, ever. Oh, maybe I tried it with my son the odd time if he was moody, and I learned. I thought, oh, how stupid was I? Yeah, you don't address attitude ever. The attitude is a result of your parenting usually, or they're just moody. They're going through a growth spurt, hormones and everything. You got to learn to walk away. There is no point in talking to a sassy or moody or rude teenager. There's no point, none. And there's no point in discussing it either. You probably don't want to hear that. A lot of people are surprised. And with teenagers, I'll tell you, no, I don't even feel like telling this story. It's a bit of a long story, but teenagers are my favorite age. I used to mentor troubled teens, and they were my absolute favorite age. I loved it. And I learned more about myself and life, and they were just amazing. So, but teenagers, you have to do a lot of give. You have to a lot of forgiving, a lot of give, and then you'll eventually get. But you got to invest a lot of giving before you get. A lot of parents don't want to do that. They say, "Are you kidding me? Do you know how they treat me?" And I'm like, "Yeah. So what do you want from me? I'm teaching you what to do to get results. You got to let go of your feelings, your resentment, your anger towards them. You have to forgive them, and at least on the outside. I'm not saying you forgive them on the inside, but on the outside, you got to take the high road. And a lot of parents struggle with this because they're hurt. They want justice. They want revenge almost sometimes, and they do. They admit that. Yeah, I want to get back at him for the way he's treated me. And I'm like, well, good luck with that. Yeah, you can't. You have to take the high road. So anyway, if you want to work with me, most teenage stuff is coaching. But I will read out my top 3 parenting tips for teenagers. These are my top 3 tips for parenting teenagers. Number 1, listen to understand and show empathy. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with. If they want your advice, they'll ask for it. And by the way, they already know it. By the way, if you get good at that, I call it silent listening. If you get good at that, they'll tell you everything right through the teen years like my kids did. I did that with my mom. My kids did that with me. Number 2, negotiate pretty much everything. Say something like this. Hey, I want your dirty clothes in the hamper from now on. What do you want from me? You don't do it with everything, but it's just an idea. So, think about it. Number 3 is don't sweat the small stuff. Save your energy for the big stuff because you're going to need it if it even happens. Don't try and micromanage a teenager. It's a disaster. You allow them to make mistakes. If they do something stupid and it's not a big deal, I would have said, yeah, that was stupid. Do you want to hear what I did when I was your age? Like, it's okay to make mistakes. There's nothing wrong with failing and trying. And I always say, if you're not failing, you're not trying hard enough. That's how you learn. That's how you grow. I'm 63 years old and I'm failing every single day because I'm always trying new stuff. I love learning new stuff all the time, every single day. If I don't look at something that opens my mind to something new, it's not a good day. I like to learn every single day. So yeah. Can you give a few tips on how to become a leader? I just gave my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers, and I just gave my top 3 tips for parenting teenagers. So those are kind of my basics. But the whole idea behind leadership parenting is to bring out the best in your kids. And you're not telling them what to do. You're guiding them into making good choices. So my focus is I want kids, when I'm with them, to like themselves when they're with me, to have high self-esteem, and therefore they treat me like gold, right? If you feel good about yourself with someone, don't you treat that person really, really well? Don't you feel, when you feel good about yourself around them, don't they bring out the best in you? That's my leadership parenting advice. Bring out the best in your children. You deal with bad behavior, but you focus on the good kid. Where you put your focus, where you put your energy is what grows. If you're putting all your focus and energy into the bad behavior, it's going to grow. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. If you deal with bad behavior, yeah, that was bad. Okay, here's the consequence. Anyway, you want to go to the park? You instantly switch and go back to focusing on the good kid. You've heard my pool story a million times. It's my absolute favorite story. I'm just kind of running out of steam. This is my 3rd hour of live today. I thought today was Monday. So I did an hour and a half. I do an hour and a half of lives pretty much every day. So I did a 90-minute live earlier, and then I remembered it's actually Tuesday, and I had my scheduled lives. So my voice is starting to go. I can feel it. I'm running out of steam. So anyway, I don't even want to tell the pool story, but you've probably heard that before because most people here are regulars on TikTok especially. So the pool story is the absolute best example of how you deal with bad behavior, then you instantly focus on the good kid. Instantly. And see the shift. You must have heard that story. God, I love that story. It's actually really nice. It's a really nice story. I'll tell it again tomorrow when I'm feeling better. Maya. Oh, Maya. Sorry about that. Maya on YouTube. I said Masia or something like that. I pronounced it phonetically. So you want to hear a funny story? I had this client years and years ago, and his name was spelled Jesus. So I said, hi. I said, you must be Jesus. And he goes, actually, it's pronounced Jesus. How embarrassing. He said, yeah, it happens all the time. How embarrassing. Anyway, how did I know? I didn't know Jesus was, evidently there's another way of spelling it too. I didn't know. Anyway, whatever. So yeah, sorry about that. I do my best here. People pronounce my last name wrong all the time. And I say, whatever gets you there. I don't care. New Zealand, loving your advice. Thanks so much for that. We lived in Australia. I was there for about 20 years. My kids were born and raised there. And we used to ski in Queenstown in New Zealand. Oh, the most beautiful place. Geez, it was beautiful. It actually reminded me a lot of where I live. I live in British Columbia now, where I'm originally from. And it's very similar. A lot of mountains and lakes and oceans. And Queenstown didn't have the ocean right there. But yeah, it reminded me a lot of BC. I love New Zealand. I love the people there. When I first moved to Australia, all my friends were Kiwis, which is slang for New Zealanders. So yeah, super friendly. Okay. So I'm running out of steam here. I've been doing this for 3 hours today now. Oh my goodness. It's hard to talk so much, and even for me. Okay, sorry. Oh, this is funny. Trying to think of a question, but I watch you so much, I know the answers. It's putting it into action. Yeah, Instagram is my most active live because I've only been on Instagram for about 3 months, but I've got a big following. But I've only a lot of those people are new. So, but on TikTok, I've been doing these lives every day for about 1.5 years now. So a lot of you've heard it all before. That's why it's not as active of a live. But Instagram is just super busy. Like TikTok was like that when I first started. But yeah, it's great on because I've been on here for so long now that on TikTok, if I don't get to all the questions, a lot of my regulars will answer them for me now. I really appreciate. Okay, I'm going to try and focus. I can feel it. I'm running out of steam here. Okay. Okay. Any advice on how to balance working from home and playing with 3-year-old? You're going to have absolute defined times on when you're working and when you're not. Unless you're like that freelancer where you have to take calls here and there, that's when it becomes more difficult. But you're going to have to set up systems. That would be a systems problem. I was talking to someone, I think on Instagram earlier. I can't remember when or where. But anyway, they were talking about working from home, and they had a 2-year-old and a 7-year-old. How do I, and she was in the same room as the kids. And she wanted the 2-year-old to understand that when she's on a call, not to interrupt. And I said, you can't do that with a 2-year-old. They don't understand work and having to make money to pay the food. No, they just don't understand. It's too big of an ask for a 2-year-old. But if you've got a 3-year-old and I don't know what kind of a work, is it like a specific time? You would want to work on systems. You have to figure out, you have to have very visual, so she'll understand from this time to this time, you have to do this, and have a schedule for her, stuff she can do. And but yeah, it's still a lot to ask of a little child to understand work when you're working from home. It is a big ask. So, and it's one of those things when I'm dealing with that in coaching, I always say the results will be because if you're right there, how can they not want to be with you? You see? So sometimes I'll say, yeah, we can get great results. I don't know how to fix that. And that's one of those Okay, my teenage son doesn't want to go to school or graduate. He just doesn't care. I hear this all the time. That would be coaching. And there's no guarantees with any of this, by the way. I just try and help you, guide you along the way. But yeah, that would be coaching. I'd have to find out what kind of parent are you? When did this start? What's his social life like? What does he like to do? What does he plan on doing? Do you discuss his future? Blah, blah, blah. I have to assess the whole situation before I could even start to give you an answer. So if you want to work with me, you can go in the link above and hire me for coaching. Okay, someone asked on YouTube here. My daughter, soon to be 3, has had tantrums, and once I have calmed her down, you calm her down, or you let her calm herself down. There's a big difference between the two. Calmed her down. She looks for hugs and my grandmama that recently came to visit. She knows I don't hug her after 10. She goes to her. Okay, well, you just have to talk to the grandmother and say, can you, this is what I do. Can you please just respect my parenting and not hug her after a tantrum? It doesn't mean you're pushing them away. Like if a kid comes to me for a hug after a tantrum, and they come up, they can hug my leg or something, and I just go, "You're all right, okay, so let's go there." That's how I do it. I don't shove them away, but I don't go, "Oh, it's okay," because then it makes it sound like you feel sorry for them. You don't want to go down the pity road. It's okay, I love you. They don't need it at that moment. They do not need that at all. It's like, okay, let's go. So yeah, it's more like that. If you are, and this, I used to get this a lot on here, and they'd say, "Oh, so you're not loving your child, you're not meeting their emotional needs." If you have a child who is damaged by that approach, you got bigger fish to fry. If that damages them, you're missing a whole bunch of stuff in parenting. You got to work on your other stuff. So yeah, they can handle that. They can handle that. I just had a tantrum. I want to hug. Yeah, you're all right. Okay, let's go to the park and do something else. You're kind of sidestepping it. I don't get involved in tantrums at all. Like even hugging after one is getting involved in it. I completely flip it. Okay, let's go play a game. Let's go do this. Okay. Whoops. Whoa, you're going to hate this answer. How to teach my 2-year-old to learn and do what I asked her to do, as she ignores me sometimes. She's 2. She's 2 years old. Imagine if you were 2 years old and you've only been in the world for 2 years, and for the first year you were a potato laying on a mattress. Now you have someone telling you what to do, and you're just supposed to go, all right. They're not really thinking about a whole lot. They're working on impulses. I want to do that. I want to hit that. I want to grab that. I want to grab that. Yeah, it's too big of an ask. Your expectations are not reasonable of a 2-year-old. And I'll read out my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. Okay. The last one will pertain to you. This is my top 5 tips for parenting toddlers. Child-proof your home so you never have to say no. Set up a toy rotation system so they're never bored. When you're trying to bond with a toddler, you enter their world. You don't go to the nail salon. You go to the park and roll down the hill with them. You have fun with them in their world. They look at you differently. It's a whole different kind of connection. Number 4, when you're disciplining a toddler, it's consistent corrective actions. They're not about words. You're entering their world again to discipline them. Their world is not words. Their world is actions. So you use consistent corrective actions. The last one, stop trying to figure them out. They're not figure-outable. Don't try and reason with a toddler. If it works, and some of them are super easy going, and if they already kind of don't mind doing it, you can reason with them. But if you're going against the grain, you can't reason with them. And or if you can, let me know how that goes, and I'd like to learn. Okay, I gotta go. My voice is going. I've been on here for 3 hours now, so today. So anyway, I gotta run. So thanks so much for joining me. If you go on the link above, you can get my free behavior board, by one of my mini toddler courses, my big boot camp course, 3 to 12 years old, or you can hire me for coaching. It's all on the link above. And I'll be back again tomorrow sometime. Thanks so much, and I hope you had a great Christmas. Bye now.